Anyway, all right. I already made a video about the drag. I had to separate them. I didn't want to do them both in the same video. The drifting, oh boy, it seems like you either like it or you don't. I'm not about it. It's just you're driving on ice, and the higher the tier is for your car, the worse it gets. Like the more horsepower, the worse it is. I mean, obviously you're not going to be drifting 100-mile-an-hour around some of these hairpins, but even when you slow down to 30-40 mile an hour, it just slides. You slide off the road. There's no saving it. There's no real way where you can really hook the car and dodge traffic and like drift between traffic. If traffic's coming up the road, you're just gonna slide into them. I don't like it. I don't like the drifting. It's, if you stay in B and A tier, it's more manageable, but once you get up, it gets worse. And I will say, every single car that I've put these pro drift tires on has felt different. Every car has handled differently. It's not like you put the tires on and it's like a sure thing across the board. Like every single car feels different. So testing all the cars and finding one that feels the best, I guess, is the way to go. The S15 on S Plus, I could link drifts at 150 mile an hour on the highway, no problem. R35, all-wheel drive, kind of better in the hairpins, kind of being able to grip up and like carry you momentum through. But then other times it's not good. This S14 is great, and the B tier WRX STI is good, not the hatch, the the regular one. But I will say, if you look, you know which cars have the drift tires on it because you see that little icon, the S. So we're gonna pick this vehicle. I'm gonna show you a couple things of why I don't like it, all this stuff. I will say though, my first thought was, they say pro drift tires, right? So my first thing was, I came in here and I went to pro drift tires. Okay, I put this on and I was like, nothing's different, nothing's happening. If you go all the way to the end, at the end of the Elite, Drift Pro tires will be there. Okay, so if anybody's like me and we're like, what the fuck, I put on the Pro Drift tires, they have their own tire in Elite, and then you see the Drift Pro tires needed for Pro events. That's where it is, okay? So let's take this thing out. I will show you what I mean. They don't have it for front wheel drive. At least they kept that realistic, right? They were like, it'd be like the old Underground, you could drift front wheel drive cars. Could you not? Is this not an Underground update? I want to drift front wheel drive cars. It's not here. It's not here. You can't do it. You can't. Disappointed. This isn't an Underground update. You could drift front wheel drive cars. No problem. Why would you want realism? Oh man, Jesus Christ. All right, we finally got in. Jeez. So anyway, like I said, the slower cars are better, but you'll see what I mean about just sliding on ice. And also another thing, it just, the sense of speed isn't there. It feels so sluggish. It doesn't feel natural. It's just not fun. Like, look how slow this feels. Like if I want to take this right here, see how it just kind of just wants to keep sliding. Now there is a meter when you're actually in drift races. It goes into the green and then into the red. And when you get too much of an angle, you hear the tires. That kind of, it's like you try to over rotate to kind of compensate sometimes. Like if you're sliding too far off the track, you want to like over rotate to kind of throw it in. But then it gets to the point where you can't really correct it in most cars, and you kind of just, you spin out. A lot of people were being real toxic, going, oh, skill issue, you just suck, blah, blah, blah. You just don't know how to drive. Like, I've drifted on sim rigs, no problem, on simulation games, easy. Like, I'm real good at drifting, all right? This, it needs some tweaking. It's better than what it was, but I mean, it's easy to kind of do like, you know, go back and forth and manji like this. But this is also, keep in mind, this is a lower, like, see how I wanted to take that corner? I can't. But you'll notice when you're doing a race, the meter, even if you're in the green, it doesn't hook anymore. Like one goes, like, oh, you have to keep in the green in the corners. The angle is too much, and it's a very small sliver in the green. And if you try to stay in that, it's too much of an angle for most of the corners, and especially on like longer sweeping corners, you can't be in that green to red area. It's too much. You turn too much. So, and it doesn't feel, sometimes it feels like if you can hang in the green, sometimes it feels like it might hug the hairpins a little more. But for the majority of the time, you're never going to be in that green range. It just, the angle doesn't feel right. So I don't, it doesn't feel like that really does anything. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it feels too slidey. Like, cool, like, yeah, linking drifts like this on like a wide open road, easy, fun, right? Here we go. Drift Pro playlist. Let's do it. The perfect time. And it's an S+. I will show you how bad it is with S+. It's just not... It's not... It gets worse the more horsepower you have. Like these lower horsepower cars, manageable. Still not quite the best, but... Alright, so we have... the Z was really bad. I think the best car that I found is the S15. The Z was all over the place. It slid so much. At least this S15 is snappy, and you can do some like high power drifts, no problem. But in the low speed hairpins, it has a hard time. You see the gauge at the bottom, the green and the red. But see, like the S15's already... But like, see if you can keep it in the green sometimes, but like, see how I just like went to go back? You just slide off the road. Sure, skill issue, whatever. Sometimes you have to slow down a lot. Like, look, trying to slow down, trying to go around. It just feels so slow and sluggish. It doesn't feel like Car X Drift. It doesn't feel like Motorfest, and Motorfest really isn't a great drifting game. But this S15 over rotates like crazy. But I mean, I'm doing my best to keep this thing on. But as you can see, I'm trying to stay in the green, and it does seem like, but it's sometimes it feels like it works and sometimes it doesn't. But see, like, if you carry too much speed, you got to slam on the brakes, and even doing that, it's too much. Like once you get too much speed, it's it. That's it. It's a wrap. It just doesn't feel fluid. It doesn't feel natural. It's not... I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I've obviously gotten used to it. Look, like there. Coming up, I wasn't going that fast, and I even slammed on the brakes, and I still slid past the corner. It's... And don't use nitrous, because that happens. I just feel like most players don't like drifting. They just don't. And I feel like the people that do have issues like actually drifting, like, look how slow I'm going. Like, that should be... It doesn't go like where you point the nose. It doesn't really go all the time. If I get on the gas, I should be able to power through the corner. No problem. But I feel like most people that already don't really care for drifting, they're going to get their hands on this and they're not going to enjoy it at all. And like sometimes you feel like you really got to throw the car in to like maybe hook around the corner, and then it over rotates, and then it's like, look at this. Once you start going too fast, you can't stay on the road. You just slide off the road. Like, look how much I gotta slow down here, and then over rotates. It's S plus is not. It's just not fun to drift. Like, look, I can chain this, and I gotta slam on the brakes, and then even then, look, it cuts wide and just slides. I was going slow enough. I should have hooked that corner, drifted around, no problem. That's not the case. It's not. I just feel like most people are gonna not like this. I mean, sure, you can practice and you can like learn exactly how it works. It does seem like, though, like if you do kind of keep it in the green, it will corner better than if not. But then when like sometimes when you got to slow down, and sometimes you don't have to go at such a big angle for some of these corners, you're kind of shit out of luck. If you go too fast, it's over, even if you're in the green. Like green, it's not gonna make it. It just slides too much. So it's not like guaranteed that if you're in the green on the gauge that you're gonna make it around the corner. Like I shouldn't have to slow down to first gear for that corner. It just shouldn't be a thing. I guess the main thing about it is you just have to slow down a lot. You have to slow down a lot. You can't go really fast and drift. You just can't. And like there's no way to really avoid traffic cars once they start coming at you. You're just gonna slide into them. I gotta slam on the brakes, get it around here. Like sometimes, yeah, you can get some smooth drifts out of it, but for the majority of the time, you're just gonna be fighting with the cars. Like, see there, I should be able to kind of just do a little drift around there, no problem. It should hook, but it doesn't hook. Like, you have to go into a big angle, and that's not really how it works. You can still drift at like lower angles. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of the drifting. I'm just not. It just feels like you're on ice. It's too much. They need to grip it up a little bit more. That's really all I got to say about it. It just needs some more grip. I've messed with the downforce, and like people on stream are like, you got to tune the car, you got to set it up. When you put drift tires on, you cannot mess with the handling sliders. I will go back and show you. Like, look at the AIs even having trouble. They were like about to hit the wall, and they hit the NOS, and then they slam into the other wall. It's all over the place. But I mean, like, look here. Drifting uphill in these lower horsepower cars, the drifting's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy. It's actually smooth. It's pretty easy to control here. That's why I was saying the low horsepower cars are fine. Like, this is how it should be. But once you get into those higher horsepower cars, it is like, see here, at least when you start sliding out, you slow down enough because you're not going so fast that you can correct it and kind of fix it. But those higher horsepower cars with this new drifting model, it's too much. You know, it's too much. Like, see how we can just keep the drift, right? But yeah, that's why I said the lower tier cars are just easier to drift, man. Just how it is. We're not gonna. Ooh, yeah. I haven't found a good way to get around the cars. It's just these new, with how much it slides, it's really only built for low horsepower cars. I mean, that's the only thing I can say about this drift update. And I wish that, I mean, we all want to drift in high horsepower drift cars. I mean, that's how a lot of drift cars are, high horsepower, crazy cars. But like this update, just, it's too much. Like, yeah, like this is fine. This is okay. I can live with this. This isn't horrible. I can do low tier races with this. No problem. It's actually pretty enjoyable. But, I mean, outside of that, it's just, it's not consistent between all the tiers, you know? Maybe the higher horsepower cars should be adjusted to have more grip, you know? It's just, I don't know. It just seems like the faster you go, the more you're just driving on ice and fly off the road. But low horsepower, slow speeds, fine. And it's just, at this point, it just feels, the drifting, it just feels sluggish. It feels too slow. It's almost like not even fun, because like it doesn't even take any effort to really do anything here. I see that, like I cut. Like, even if you don't exactly hit the right line, you're gonna have a bad time. I'm glad the car just decided to stop. But like this meter with the lower horsepower cars, if you stay in the green, usually it's too much of an angle. Like if I stay in the green, I'm going in the grass. It's too much of an angle. So to have to like, that's why like a lot of people go, you're just skillless, you gotta stay in the green, blah, blah, blah. You can't always stay in the green. You just can't. It's not possible. So I don't think that's the trick to getting the cars to actually corner. You know what I mean? I think maybe that's just, you get more points if you stay in green, like you get a higher multiplier, or your points go up faster maybe. All right, we're gonna get the 350 out. So you notice the stats, look at the handling, locked while Drift Pro tires are equipped. A lot of people, oh, you gotta change the settings. You can't. You go to something else, it unlocks it. But when you do this, it locks it all, okay? So you kind of limited on what you can do. You can change the downforce. Obviously, high downforce is going to give you more grip, and that's about it. But, I mean, it locks all cars to like 20% drift from what it seems, for everything I've tested. But, I mean, yeah, doing this, I guess, is satisfying. But see how it over-rotates? Like every S plus rear wheel drive car I've tried to drift with does that. Yeah, I mean, the more you try to drift around, the more it's just like, I don't know. Heat had way better drifting. Like no matter what you try to do, throttle control, all gas, off the gas, e-brake, braking, it's just very, like, yeah, like look, we can kind of tandem through here. We're gonna slide into that pole. I was hoping I could cut in and not hit the pole, but it just slides too much. That's, I got nothing else to say about it. I just think it should have a little bit more grip to it. Sure, like I said, you can practice and you can really nail it down and probably get it, but the key thing is trying to keep it in the green while you're in a race. And you don't have that gauge in free roam, but at the same time just slowing down. Like the lower horsepower car you have, the better time you're gonna have drifting. And just remember that you gotta slow down a lot more than you think. And when you're doing high speed drifts, you're not gonna make a corner, even a slight corner. It just, instead of kind of like hooking around that corner and having like a nice smooth drift like you can do in Motorfest, Forza Horizon, even Gran Turismo, which is a simulator about track racing, you can still drift more consistent on that game than you can in this. But yeah, there's high speed corners, once you get too much speed, you slide off into the wall. I just think this needs some adjustments. I think it's a step in the right direction for drifting. I think it's cool that they added this, but it just feels like you're driving on a frozen lake, and each car feels different. Some cars are better than others, but this just ain't it. So I want to get my thoughts on that. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions for people that want to drift, let them know down in the comments. But I think just trying to keep a certain angle sometimes in the green, but also going slow seems to be the way to go, like really slowing down. And when you're doing these events, it doesn't matter if you get last place as long as you have the most points. So as long as you really slow down and try to really get the drifts, it's fine. It's not like you don't have to get first place and also get the most points. Like I've finished and then 20 seconds later somebody else finished and had more points than me and won. So I think it's more meant for you to just take your time with drifting, but at the same time, the sense of speed while you're drifting feels too slow. Like when you really start getting slow and like going through those hairpins, it just feels real sluggish and it doesn't feel realistic. And it's like, that's the only way I can describe it. I've had a couple other people tell me it just feels sluggish. It doesn't feel natural. It feels slow. So those are my thoughts on the drifting. Overall, I think the update is pretty good, minus some weird things going on. I do still stand by that this content should have been in at launch. Drag racing has been in Need for Speed since 20 years. We should get a full product, not a year and a half later get a drag racing mode. So anyway, I'm gonna have another video obviously about drag and another video about the Underground League and thoughts on that. But anyway, you know the drill. Subscribe, come back, let me know how you like the update. See you on the next one.